I stood there on the cold sidewalk outside the apartment building I'd called home for the last 5 years, clutching a black garbage bag filled with a few wrinkled clothes and my old photo album. The door slammed shut behind me, the lock clicking with finality. My own daughter, the girl I'd carried in my womb, raised through sleepless nights and endless sacrifices, had just looked me in the eye and called me an extra mouth to feed. Her words hit like a slap I never saw coming. "You're too much of a burden now, Mom," she said, her voice flat and unfeeling, as if I were some stranger off the street. I felt my knees buckle, the world spinning around me. How could this happen? Me at 72 years old, homeless in an instant, because the child I loved more than life itself decided I wasn't worth the trouble anymore. Tears blurred my vision as I stared up at the building, wondering if this was the end of everything I'd built. But little did I know, this betrayal would spark something fierce inside me, leading to a twist of fate that would change everything. If this story touches your heart, please subscribe and stay with me to hear how this ends. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. You might see your own family in this story. My name is Eleanor Thompson, and I'm 72 years old. I've lived a life full of quiet joys and hard work, the kind that shapes you without much fanfare. Born in a small town in Ohio, I moved to the city as a young woman to chase dreams of stability for my family. I worked as a schoolteacher for over 40 years, shaping young minds and coming home exhausted but fulfilled. My late husband, Robert, was a mechanic, a steady man with calloused hands and a gentle heart. We met at a church picnic when I was 22, and he proposed under an old oak tree a year later. Together we built a modest life in a cozy house on Maple Street, raising our only child, Sarah. Oh, how I poured my soul into that girl. From the moment she was born, with her tiny fists and big blue eyes, she was my world. I remember rocking her through colic nights, singing lullabies until my voice went hoarse. As she grew, I sacrificed vacations to pay for her dance lessons, worked extra hours for her college fund, even remortgaged the house when times got tough during Robert's illness. After Robert passed from cancer 10 years ago, I sold our family home to downsize and help Sarah with her down payment on a nice apartment in the city. She was struggling then, newly married to Mark, and I wanted to ease their burden. "Mom, you're the best," she told me back then, hugging me tight. I moved into a small unit in the same building they owned. No, wait. The building they rented in at first, but later bought with my help. It was a red brick complex with 20 units, nothing fancy, but it had a community feel. I'd bake cookies for the neighbors, tend to the little flower boxes in the courtyard, and babysit Sarah's kids whenever she needed. My grandchildren, little Emma, who's 8, and Tommy, who's 5, were the light of my days. Emma with her curly pigtails, and Tommy with his endless energy. They'd run into my arms calling Grandma Ellie, and we'd spend afternoons making crafts or reading stories. I kept busy in retirement with my knitting club and volunteer work at the local library. My hands aren't as steady as they used to be, with a touch of arthritis, but I managed. Physically, I'm 5'4" tall, with a sturdy build from years of walking to school. My hair is silver gray, cut in a neat bob that frames my face, and my hazel eyes still sparkle when I laugh. I usually wear comfortable outfits like my favorite floral blouse with khaki pants and sensible loafers, always with my gold locket holding Robert's photo. Life felt complete, surrounded by family. Sarah would drop by for coffee, sharing stories about her job as a marketing executive, and Mark, her husband, would fix little things around my place. "We're family, Mom," Sarah would say. "We take care of each other." I believed that with all my heart. I'd given her everything, my savings, my time, my love, never asking for much in return. But looking back now, I see the small cracks I ignored, her growing impatience when I'd forget something, the way she'd sigh if I needed a ride to the doctor. Still, I chalked it up to stress from her busy life. How naive I was. Our family gatherings were the highlight. Every Sunday, We'd have dinner in Sarah's larger apartment upstairs. I'd cook my famous pot roast, and the kids would help set the table. Laughter filled the air, and I'd sit back, watching them, feeling grateful. I taught Emma to knit her first scarf last winter, her little fingers fumbling but determined. Tommy loved my stories about his grandpa's adventures fixing old cars. Even Mark, who could be a bit distant, would crack jokes. It was during one of those dinners that Sarah first mentioned the building's owner putting it up for sale. "Wouldn't it be great if we could buy it?" she said casually. I smiled, not thinking much of it. Little did I know that conversation would plant the seed for everything that followed. My days were simple. Morning walks in the nearby park, where I'd feed the ducks and chat with other seniors. Afternoons reading or watching my soap operas. Evenings with the grandkids if Sarah was working late. I felt needed, valued. But as the months passed, subtle changes crept in. Sarah's visits shortened. She'd cancel our coffee chats, citing work. Mark stopped fixing things, saying he was too busy. I brushed it off, telling myself families go through phases. If only I'd paid more attention to those warning signs. I remember one particular evening, about a year ago, when Sarah came over looking excited. "Mom, we need to talk," she said, sitting at my kitchen table with a stack of papers. Her eyes gleamed in a way that made me uneasy, but I poured us tea and listened. She explained how the building was a great investment opportunity, but they needed more capital. "If you could loan us some from your retirement savings, we'd pay you back with interest," she promised. Trusting her completely, I agreed, transferring a good chunk, nearly $50,000, from my account. It was money I'd saved meticulously over decades, but for family, what's money? She hugged me, saying, "You're saving us, Mom." That felt good. With that, they bought the building, becoming landlords. I was proud of them. The neighbors congratulated me, saying how lucky I was to have such ambitious kids. But soon after, things shifted. Rent notices went up for others, but Sarah assured me mine would stay the same. "Your family," she said again. I believed her. My life continued its gentle rhythm, filled with love and small acts of kindness. I volunteered more at the community center, helping with senior bingo nights. Friends like my neighbor Margaret would say, "Eleanor, you're the heart of this place." If you'd told me then that heartbreak was around the corner, I'd have laughed it off. But life has a way of surprising you, doesn't it? That's when everything changed for me. It started innocently enough, or so I thought. One rainy afternoon, Sarah knocked on my door, her face tense. She was dressed in her sharp business suit, hair pulled back in a tight bun, looking every bit the successful woman I'd helped her become. "Mom, we need to have a serious talk," she said, stepping inside without her usual hug. I felt a knot in my stomach but invited her to sit. As I poured coffee, my hands trembling slightly, she launched in. "The building costs are skyrocketing. Repairs, taxes, everything. Mark and I are struggling to keep up." I nodded sympathetically, remembering how I'd already given them so much. Then she dropped the bomb. "We think it's time you moved to a senior living facility. It's more affordable for you, and we could rent your unit for market rate to offset expenses." I stared at her, my cup frozen midway to my lips. "But Sarah, this is my home," I whispered. "You promised I'd always have a place here." She sighed, avoiding my eyes. "Things change, Mom. You're getting older, and honestly, you're becoming an extra mouth to feed. We can't afford to subsidize you anymore." Those words pierced my heart like a knife. An extra mouth? Me, who had fed her, clothed her, put her through school? I felt tears well up, but I held them back, not wanting to seem weak. "Sarah, please," I begged. "I've given you everything. That money I loaned, wasn't that enough?" She shook her head, her expression hardening. "That was an investment, Mom, not charity. And frankly, you've outlived your usefulness here." Outlived my usefulness? I couldn't believe this was my daughter speaking. The girl who'd cried in my arms after her first heartbreak, who I'd nursed through illnesses, who I'd celebrated every milestone with. Now she saw me as a burden. I tried to reason with her, reminding her of our family bonds, but she cut me off. This isn't up for discussion. You have 2 weeks to find a new place. She stood up, leaving the papers on the table, a list of cheap senior homes. As she walked out, she didn't even look back. I sank into my chair, my body shaking. How could she do this? My mind raced with memories of her as a child, so loving and dependent. What had changed her? Was it the pressure from Mark, who I'd always suspected was more interested in money than family? Or had I spoiled her too much, never teaching her gratitude? That night I couldn't sleep. I paced my small living room, looking at the photos on the walls. Us at Emma's birthday, Tommy's first steps. The betrayal burned deep. The next day, I called my old friend Margaret Chen, who's 68 and lives down the hall. She's petite, 5'3", with short silver hair and warm brown eyes, always in her casual cardigans and slacks. "Eleanor, that's awful," she said when I told her, her voice full of shock. She came over with tea, holding my hand as I cried. "You don't deserve this," she whispered. But even her comfort couldn't ease the pain. Sarah started avoiding me in the hallways, and when I saw the grandkids, Emma asked innocently, "Grandma, why is Mommy mad at you?" I forced a smile, saying it was grown-up stuff. Inside, I was crumbling. Then came the eviction notice, slipped under my door like I was just any tenant. Failure to pay increased rent, it read, even though she'd never formally raised mine. I confronted her upstairs, knocking on her door with trembling hands. Mark answered, his 6 Neo frame blocking the way, short dark hair tousled, wearing his usual business casual shirt and jeans. "Sarah's busy," he said curtly. But she appeared behind him, her 5'6" slender build tense, sleek brunette ponytail swinging. "Mom, just sign the papers for the senior home. It's for the best," I pleaded. "But the grandkids, I'll miss them." She rolled her eyes. "You'll see them on holidays. Stop being dramatic." The shock turned to numbness as the days ticked by. I packed my things slowly, each item a memory. My knitting needles from Robert, the quilt I'd made for Sarah's wedding. How had it come to this? I wondered if I'd failed as a mother, if my sacrifices had bred entitlement instead of love. Margaret helped me look for places, but everything was either too expensive or depressing. "You could stay with me," she offered, but her place was tiny. One evening, as I sat alone, staring at the walls, Tommy snuck down. He's 5 tall for his age, with messy brown hair and bright eyes, in his little pajamas. "Grandma, I don't want you to go," he said, hugging me. That broke me anew. Sarah found out and scolded him, telling me not to manipulate the kids. Manipulate? The accusation stung. I felt isolated, cut off from the family I'd built. The final day arrived too soon. Sarah supervised as I loaded my bag, her cold demeanor unbreakable. "Here's your deposit back, minus damages," she said, handing me a check for a pittance. Damages? The apartment was spotless. As I stepped out, the door closing behind me, I felt utterly alone. But in that moment of despair, a spark ignited. I wasn't done yet. I didn't know it then, but this was only the beginning of a nightmare that would test every ounce of my strength. Homeless at 72, with just my garbage bag and a small pension, I ended up on Margaret's couch that first night. She was a godsend, brewing tea and listening as I poured out my heart. "Eleanor, you have to fight this," she urged. "But how?" Sarah owned the building now, thanks to my money. The next day, I went to the library to research senior rights, my hands shaking on the keyboard. That's when the first escalation hit. Sarah called, not to apologize, but to demand I return her quilt, the one I'd made. "It's building property now," she claimed. I refused, clutching it like a lifeline. That set her off. She started spreading rumors to neighbors that I was senile and had left voluntarily. One tenant, Mrs. Lopez, told me, "Sarah said you were moving to be closer to family." Lies. It hurt to see my reputation tarnished. Then came the financial manipulation. I checked my bank account and found unauthorized withdrawals, $2,000 gone. Sarah had access from years ago when I'd trusted her with emergencies. When I confronted her over the phone, she denied it. Must be a mistake, Mom. Or maybe you forgot. Gaslighting me, making me doubt my own mind. I felt furious and helpless. Margaret suggested a lawyer, so I met with attorney Linda Barnes, 52, a sharp woman 5'7", tall with a dark brown bob in her navy blazer and skirt. This sounds like elder financial abuse, she said after hearing my story. But proving it would take time. Meanwhile, Sarah escalated. She blocked my number from the grandkids' phones. Emma tried to call once, whispering, "Mommy said not to, but I miss you, Grandma." My heart shattered. Isolation from them was the cruelest blow. Next, the property seizure. Sarah sent a letter claiming I owed back rent, inflating numbers ridiculously. "Pay up or face collections," it threatened. "I didn't owe a dime," Linda advised, ignoring it for now, but the stress mounted. I moved to a cheap motel, my savings dwindling. One night I found my old storage unit, where I'd kept family heirlooms, emptied. Sarah had the key from helping me once. "Those are mine now," she texted when I asked. Theft, plain and simple. The pain was physical. My chest ached constantly. Public humiliation followed at a community event. The building had a courtyard BBQ, and I showed up uninvited to see the kids. Sarah spotted me and announced loudly, "Mom, you shouldn't be here. You're trespassing." Neighbors stared as she escorted me out like a criminal. "She's not well," she whispered to them. I felt small, ashamed, though I'd done nothing wrong. Then the nursing home threat. Sarah applied for guardianship, claiming I was incompetent. "For your own good," the papers read. Linda fought it, but the court date loomed, adding terror. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Gaslighting peaked when Mark visited my motel. "Sarah misses you, but you need help," he said smoothly. But I saw through it. They wanted control of my remaining assets. Discovery of lies came via Emma, who snuck a note. "Mommy said you gave her the building as a gift, but I heard her tell Dad it was a loan she won't repay." Proof of deceit. The breaking point. Sarah tried to have me committed for wandering. Police showed up at the motel after she reported me missing and confused. Humiliating. But the officers saw I was fine, and one suggested pressing charges. Throughout, moments of hope flickered. Margaret brought meals, saying, "You're stronger than this." My grandson David, wait, Tommy's older brother? No, let's introduce a secondary. My grandson David, 22, Sarah's son from a previous relationship, 5'11", athletic, short dark hair, in hoodie and jeans. He visited secretly. "Grandma, this isn't right," he said, hugging me. His compassion gave me strength. Each day brought new heartbreak. I cried alone, questioning my life. But slowly anger replaced despair. With Linda's help, I gathered evidence. Bank statements, the loan agreement Sarah had signed. David provided texts showing their plans. I couldn't believe my own family did this to me. The isolation, the theft, the lies, it was too much. If this story breaks your heart like it does mine, please hit that like button and tell me in the comments if you've ever felt betrayed by family. As the court date approached, I felt a fire building inside. For months, I'd suffered in silence, but no more. Linda prepared a strong case, subpoenaing bank records and witnesses. David agreed to testify, torn but loyal to me. "Grandma, I love Mom, but this is wrong," he confided. The climax unfolded in the courtroom, a sterile place with wooden benches and echoing voices. I sat there, dressed in my best floral blouse and khakis, hands folded to hide the tremble. Sarah arrived with Mark, her face composed, but I saw the flicker of nerves. The judge, an older man with glasses, called the case. Linda presented first. "Your Honor, Eleanor Thompson has been victimized by her daughter through financial exploitation, emotional abuse, and attempted fraudulent guardianship." She laid out the evidence. The loan never repaid. Unauthorized withdrawals, the eviction despite my contributions. Sarah's lawyer countered, painting me as forgetful and burdensome. But then David took the stand. "My mom told me Grandma was an extra mouth," he said, voice shaking. She used Grandma's money to buy the building, then kicked her out. The courtroom murmured. Sarah's face paled. I testified next, my voice steady despite the tears. I gave everything to my daughter, I said. Sacrificed my home, my savings. And she called me a burden, threw me out like trash. Recounting the details, the garbage bag, the blocked calls, the stolen heirlooms, brought it all back. The judge listened intently, then the bombshell. Linda revealed emails from Sarah to Mark, discussing how to get rid of Mom for profit. We can triple rents once she's gone, one read. Gasps filled the room. Sarah broke, admitting partial truth but claiming stress. I didn't mean to hurt her, she sobbed, showing remorse for the first time. But it was too late. The judge ruled in my favor, guardianship denied, financial restitution ordered, $100,000 plus interest. And the building? Since my loan was unsecured but proven, the court mandated partial ownership transfer to me or sale proceeds. Sarah lost her landlord status temporarily, facing elder abuse charges that could mean probation. Outside, neighbors who'd heard confronted her. How could you? Mrs. Lopez asked. Mark distanced himself, muttering about divorce. The grandkids ran to me, Emma crying, Grandma, come home! Sarah approached, tears streaming. Mom, I'm sorry. Work pressure. I lost sight. Her vulnerability showed. Perhaps mental health struggles I'd missed. I hugged her cautiously. Actions have consequences, I said. But in that moment I felt empowered, my dignity reclaimed. No more silent suffering. Justice had prevailed, not through revenge, but truth. For the first time in months, I breathed freely, knowing I'd stood up for myself. Looking back now, I understand how betrayal can come from those we love most, born from their own pains and pressures. Sarah's actions stemmed from ambition twisted by stress, perhaps resentment from her own unfulfilled dreams. But I've learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It's choosing peace for yourself. Today, as I sit in my reclaimed apartment, the building now co-owned with safeguards, life feels renewed. Sarah and I are rebuilding slowly. She attends therapy, repaying what she took. We have family dinners again, tentative but healing. Mark left, unable to face the shame, and the divorce freed her in ways. The grandkids visit freely. Emma knits with me. Tommy shares stories. David moved closer, a constant support. The consequences linger for Sarah. Lost friends, a demoted job from the scandal, but she's learning humility. Community views her differently, a lesson in karma. For me, liberation came in unexpected ways. With restitution, I invested wisely, ironically, buying out Sarah's full share when she couldn't afford upkeep. Yes, I became sole owner. Rents? I tripled them for fairness, but offered discounts to loyal tenants like Margaret. Sarah moved to a smaller place, paying market rate, a poetic turn. I've grown stronger, volunteering more, sharing my story to help other elders. If there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this. Honor your family, but never at the cost of your dignity. Speak up when wronged. Silence only empowers the hurt. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please subscribe for more stories of strength and redemption. Have you ever experienced family betrayal or seen an elder mistreated? Share your thoughts in the comments. Looking back now, I see that sometimes the deepest wounds lead to the greatest growth. But I also wonder, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have found the strength to fight back, or let the betrayal define you? The stories shared on this channel are entirely fictional and created solely for entertainment purposes. We believe in honoring our elders and treating all family members with love and respect. These stories are meant to inspire reflection on family relationships and the importance of compassion. Any resemblance to real people, events, or families is purely coincidental and unintentional. These narratives carry no specific cultural, political, or religious implications.